Hello and welcome once again to the Random Wrestling Revue's local to global series. And we have just obviously had in our last episode some pretty major happenings, including a new RWR Northwest champion. It is, of course, Dan Severn, which has created a little bit of a strange look to our rankings. Kind of table. And what I've done is I've changed it now. I've always previously listed the champion as number one and then everyone below them in order. I've decided to change that because otherwise it doesn't make sense anymore, because Dan Severn has only 1 point, and that comes from his victory in his debut for the RWR Northwest title, having defeated the Shadow in that match. Now, of course, that was a legitimate thing that happened because it was part of Luck of the Draw, where anybody could theoretically have been drawn against the champion. It just so happened to be that new arrival Dan Severn, the Beast Dan Severn, won, uh, got the chance to face the champion and took his chance and won the belt. So this is how the rankings work now, with a champion and then the top contenders below them. And you can see we've now got 17 men on the roster, which means that, as per my previous plans, we still kind of have a roster spot vacant. But I've not got any immediate plans to fill that roster spot right now because I don't need to. I'm happy with the lineup I've got planned for our next show. But as you can see, Dan Severn is the champion, and then you've got both members of the Samoan Violence Connection, the tag team champions, in first and second place in terms of contenders. And I can reveal at this point that Dan Severn will face Ekmo in the main event of our next show. Then we've got C.W. Anderson in third with 10 points, CM Punk with 9, Charlie Haas in fifth with 8. Then Sean Stasiak with 7, and then there's a little bit of a gap to Batista and Buchanan, both who have 5 points. Mark Henry has 3 points after 3 successive victories. Billy Kidman also on 3. Ace Steel on 3. Chris Adams on 2, having just debuted a couple of months ago. Buddy Wayne on 2. Heath Hart on 1. And Teddy Hart and the Shadow have 0 points. Obviously, the Shadow now has lost all of his points because of losing the title. So let's get to thinking about the next show. And what I'm going to do first and foremost is put in and schedule the next event, which is going to be called Number of the Beast. I think for obvious reasons, we've just introduced the Beast Dan Severn, and he is the champion already. So he will, the name of the next show is effectively named after him or themed around him, and that will happen on the 4th Monday in October. I'll just check that is good. In fact, we've got 3 wrestlers not available that night. So ECW must have changed around their schedule a bit. That's fine. We'll just change it to a Sunday. Glad I checked that now. But instead, that will be Sunday, week 3, I think we're saying. Let's just check that availability. So yeah, that's fine. We could do Sunday of week 4, but I think we'll go with Sunday week 3. It's still effectively 2 weeks between the two. But yeah, RWR Number of the Beast is our next event. And as I said, I'm not going to be signing anybody, especially for this show. So I think it's time to just move on to it, and forge along the timeline that we continue to go along. We're, of course, heading towards the end of the millennium. So we're we're going to be in late October 99 when we get to our next show. And so there's quite exciting times ahead, and we are still progressing. Obviously, well over now 4 years of game time we've played, and we've had well over 50 shows. I think we're on to like 55 or 56 shows now in the bank. So this has been quite a deep series, and it shows no signs for me of stopping or drying up. My interest in this series has probably reached a peak, to be honest, just lately. I've said before, I've commented before, I am a really long way ahead in terms of the recording schedule. I will reveal this is coming out. I think this is coming out in early March. I am recording this in late January, so I have stockpiled a load of episodes to this point, which means that there's every reason to believe the series will continue on way, way, way into the future beyond this episode, and certainly I'm feeling that way at the moment. And if you are interested in coming on that journey with us, then please subscribe, get involved, continue to follow along, because I think there's still plenty of life in this series. And if you enjoy the video by the end of this one, give us a like as well. That's really appreciated. And of course, also any support you can give us anywhere else as well. We've got our pay-per-view. I just read it. That's why I said those words. we have got our podcast that we do. The Random Wrestling Revue is available everywhere you get your podcasts. And I think you'll find something to enjoy there, even if you don't, even if not every episode uh, is to your taste. Now, In Your House 99, October 99 has happened in front of 57,000 in Russia. So they went to Russia for this one. Yeah, that's unbelievable. So in Russia, 57,000 fans. In the main event, Owen Hart beat Bret Hart in an I Quit match to retain the WWF World Heavyweight title. A 100 rated match, a perfect match. And the Brothers Hart do it again. I personally would have loved to see that. And of course, it's amazing as well, because this is Owen Hart, who in reality by this point was no longer with us. But we are seeing an alternative reality here where Owen Hart is not only the world champion and a dominant world champion. I think he's held that belt for some time now, but also that he's able to put on 100 rated matches opposite his brother Bret in 1999. Absolutely wonderful world to live in. Shawn Michaels defeated The Undertaker in the semi-main, a 97 rated match. So WWF are not messing around. Two massive matches with huge ratings there. And the difference between WCW and WWF in terms of their quality right now is really marked. We've got news here, and Pat Patterson has been hired by ECW on a handshake deal, so that's okay. Happy with that. I will just double check that has no ramifications for us, but I think that means we're okay. Yeah, nobody's due to be leaving us. So Pat Patterson's sticking around, and that's really good news because he has made a huge difference to how how good we have been in recent months. In fact, for the last nearly a year now, I think. So yeah, we're ready to go to Number of the Beast, our next show. Everybody's available, which is good news. So what we're going to do here? Well, first of all, we're going to start with an angle. I don't know how good this Dan Severn will be in this spot, but this is what's going to happen. Dan Severn's going to come out and acknowledges the way he won the title and promises to prove himself to the fans. I tell you what, prove himself is fine. So yeah, make this 5 minutes. Dan Severn just coming out here and acknowledging that he's obviously won the title in easy circumstances. Didn't have to kind of pay any dues to get to the top of the promotion. So therefore knows he needs to prove himself and is looking to do that for the fans. It's basically a way to try and win the fans over who might be a little bit cynical of this guy coming in and just winning the title on the first night. Chris Adams will then face Billy Kidman in the next match. And unsurprisingly, Chris Adams is going to win this one. I think we'll make it 8 minutes. Make it an open match, though, with let's call it a tainted win and a pinfall finish this time for Adams, where Adams doesn't have the stamina for an 8 minute match. So, I mean, look, he is not a great signing. I mean, ultimately, that's the honest truth. He's not a great signing. If he can't do an 8 minute match without getting blown up, then we are in a little bit of trouble with that. But anyway, he wins this one. Then we're going to have another angle, and this one is Bruce Hart coming out to address a couple of things here. So we're going to have him talk about Dave Bautista, and we're going to have him talk about Mark Henry. So Bruce Hart announces suspensions for both Batista and Henry, plus rankings penalty. I'll get to all of that and what that means when I run through the show properly and in full. We're going to have next up a 6-man tag match, which is going to see Ekmo, Barry Buchanan, Ace Steel, 3 members of the Rebellion against Sean Stasiak, Charlie Haas, and C.W. Anderson. And in this one, we're going to have the Rebellion get the victory. I think we'll have Barry Buchanan pin. Does it matter? Let's have him pin C.W. Anderson. Again, open match, pinfall finish. We're still in the early stages of the Rebellion, so they've got to keep I guess, establishing the dominance they've got as a heel group at this point. So a win for them is quite important. Next match will be a singles match. It will see the Shadow facing Keith Hart for the first time since Shadow obviously lost the championship. We won't make this long. Let's make it 7 minutes. Actually, I'll make this one 8 minutes. I'm going to reduce the time of the Chris Adams match just to make him a little bit less exhausted after that one. I'm going to make this one a flash pinfall finish for the Shadow, but he beats Keith Hart in this one. And Keith Hart also struggling now for stamina. I'm going to make this a storytelling match. I wonder if that might actually help. It does help. So Chris Adams, we're going to go down to 7 minutes for that one. Don't need it to be 8 minutes after all. Then we're going to have the big grudge match between CM Punk and Buddy Wayne. These two have been sort of heading on a collision course for a while. And here they're going to go to a 15-minute time limit draw, which reflecting on this, I accept. We've probably had a few too many 15-minute time limit draws just to enable feuds to go a little bit longer. But that's what we're having here. We'll make it a slow build as well between these two. But this is going to be an angle, and it is going to be Buddy Wayne and CM Punk. And what we're going to do here is have Wayne offers Punk a handshake. Punk slaps Wayne in the face and walks off. So only 3 minutes, that's fine. But that's what happens here. It obviously continues this discord between Punk and Wayne. Then we're going to have our main event, but before that, we're going to have a little angle here where Ekmo, Kimo, Barry Buchanan, and Ace Steel. We're going to have Menace be there, rated on thing, are faced down by Sean Stasiak, Charlie Haas, and C.W. Anderson. In fact, no, I'm just going to make it a fighting thing. I'm just going to have this feel a little bit chaotic. Effectively, what it is that we're going to have Kimo, Barry Buchanan, and Ace Steel, the other three members of the Rebellion, come out alongside Ekmo, who is challenging for the title in the main event. And Sean Stasiak, Charlie Haas, and C.W. Anderson, who just lost to those three earlier in the night, are going to come out and see them off to prevent them getting involved in the main event. Make that 5 minutes. And then we have the main event, which is Dan Severn against Ekmo. This is a bit of a test for old Dan Severn, given what happened in his debut. He didn't perform particularly well. He's going to win, and he's going to win by submission. But I am a little bit nervous because of the performance level. I mean, here you go again. See, Pat Patterson's not sure about putting Severn in a match of 11 minutes long. He can manage 10 though, apparently, so I'll keep him to that. That way, it's still a reasonable length main event, but it's not gonna completely exhaust him. So in terms of stories, then is this continuing? So Keith Hart's not really a part of this now. I'm wondering whether I'm going to end Charlie Haas and C.W. Anderson's story. Am I? Am I going to do that? CM Punk Buddy Wayne's fine. Dave Bautista in the Shadow is still a thing. And actually, what we're going to do to ensure that it stays a thing is that we'll put in Woman and the Shadow to this as well. In fact, I might even have her here in this segment. So yeah, that works for me. So yeah, I was looking for the story. So I think that can continue. Mark Henry and Keith Hart can continue as well. So it's just these two that are running into each other a little bit. Well, I think this is so. Let's alter this storyline. This is the rebellion, the emergence of the rebellion, and in that story, we're going to remove Keith Hart, I think, but add. Can we add anyone? We've got Stasiak involved in this, haven't we? He doesn't need to be involved in that though. So let's put him in this one for the moment. Sean Stasiak can act as the main protagonist against the rebellion for now. And then this one can continue, therefore. That means that can continue, even though, like, realistically, it's sort of a bit of a tenuous storyline at this point. Are there any other things I want to do? Or anything else I want to add? I don't think so. No, I think we're fine in terms of everything else. So that's the stories. Just check the booking analysis. We're fine. That's just all about the announcers. So we haven't got Teddy Hart on this show. We haven't got Mark Henry. We haven't got Dave Batista. I'm about to explain all that within the show. And I think we're ready to go with Number of the Beast. So let's do it. And we've got 102 people in attendance for this one. Actually, Dan Severn starts really well in this promo here. Segment rating of 34. He didn't do well without a script to follow, but it was still fine. Basically, Dan Severn comes out and he says he wants to introduce himself to all the fans. He's Dan Severn. He's the Beast. He's the man who was a UFC a legend in UFC, and now is proving himself in the Random Wrestling Revue. He says that he understands that winning the championship in the way that he did at the luck of the draw means that there will be questions about his validity as champion, and he wants to dispel those questions as quick as possible and prove himself in front of the Random Wrestling Revue fans, and he's looking forward to doing that. So this was, as I say, a kind of conciliatory thing to the audience to say, look, I accept that I won the championship without having to earn it, but I've won the championship now, so let me show you what I can do and prove to you that I deserve to be the champion of this company. Segment rating here of 34, and obviously Dan Severn is due to face Ekmo in the main event of the show. Then we have Chris Adams versus Billy Kidman in the opening match of the night. Adams wins by pinfall with a handful of tights. An in-ring performance here of Chris Adams of 33, and he was off his game, and he was visibly tiring. So there's a possibility for Adams to be even better than this if he can just up his stamina just a little bit. And if he's not off of his game, or we give him a shorter match, although I don't know how much shorter we can go, frankly. But he wins this. A segment rating of 35. Kidman did well with an in-ring performance of 29. A very good opener, actually, despite all the limitations that Chris Adams has. Then we get the segment where Bruce Hart comes out and does a load of stuff. So Bruce Hart starts by asking Woman to come out and join him in the ring. He says to Woman that he is here to do two things. Firstly, to respond to the complaint that she made on behalf of the Shadow about a month ago about Dave Batista's conduct in the Super Summer Tag Team Extravaganza, where he tried to remove the Shadow's mask. Bruce Hart says that he concedes that Batista shouldn't have done this. It was a poor decision and not in the best kind of, I don't know, character of what the Random Wrestling Review is about. So he says that Batista will be suspended for 2 weeks, which means he does not appear on tonight's show. He also says that Batista will be penalized 1 rankings point as a consequence of this, which means that he will be down to 4 points come next the next time we see him. He then says that Woman, however, failed to control her client last time around, Mark Henry, who has injured his nephew, Teddy Hart. Teddy Hart apparently is going to be out for a little while, and Henry calls that with an attack on Teddy Hart after the match last week, completely unprovoked, and then therefore tells her that Mark Henry too has been suspended for 2 weeks and also will lose 1 rankings point, which means he'll be back down to 2 next the next time we see him. So that's effectively what's happened here. A little bit of an explainer in general, really. Bruce Hart suspending both Batista and Mark Henry and penalizing them 1 rankings point as a consequence of their indiscretions, where both will be due back on the next show. So then next up we have got the 6-man tag match, the Rebellion, Ekmo, Barry Buchanan and Ace Steel against Sean Stasiak and Red Alert. This is an excellent match, a rating of 40 here between these guys. Really pleased with that. Barry Buchanan wins for the Rebellion when he pins C.W. Anderson after 13 minutes 26 seconds. Ekmo, a 48 rated match for him. Charlie Haas a 32, which I believe is his best again, so he continues to improve. Sean Stasiak a 39. C.W. Anderson even had a 27, which I think is about as good as he's been. And Ace Steel 35, Barry Buchanan a 32. A very good match, good performances all round. Both stories that were kind of involved in this have progressed and progressed well. So can't really ask for much more than a really good 6-man tag match here. Then we have the Shadow versus Keith Hart. Shadow wins in 7:35 by pinfall with a fast roll-up. But look at the rating, a 38 rated match when Keith Hart only has an in-ring performance of 23. The Shadow is a 42. Of course, did learn before that the Shadow and Keith Hart have great chemistry, and that helped this, of course. And also it shows that the Shadow was really impacted in the last show we did, where he lost to Dan Severn, by the fact that he and Dan Severn simply do not click at all. So the Shadow gets an in-ring performance of 42, carries this to a really good 38 rated match. Very, very pleasing performance from both men. Then another really good match, CM Punk drawing with Buddy Wayne in 15 minutes when the time limit expires. So this is the first match between these two as they kind of embark on this feud, and they go to a draw, a segment rating though of 41 for this, so really, really good. Punk a 38 rated in-ring performance, Buddy Wayne a 34, and obviously this shows that this feud is set to continue for some time yet. After the match, Buddy Wayne reaches out to CM Punk and offers him a handshake, but CM Punk looks him up and down and then slaps Buddy Wayne viciously in the face before leaving the ring area, backing away from Buddy Wayne as he goes, with Wayne looking pretty angry, and the potential for this feud to continue. Segment rating of 38. Buddy Wayne did struggle when going off script here, but CM Punk improvised well, and it was a very good rated segment. Then just before the main event, as Ekmo, Barry Buchanan and Ace Steel accompany Ekmo to the ring, Sean Stasiak, Charlie Haas and C.W. Anderson come down, confront the three of them, and the 6 men all have a big old brawl to the back, which eliminates the Rebellion from being any kind of a factor in the main event. So segment rating here 35. Stasiak continues to foreshadow that heel turn that we've had him kind of preparing for some time. Still not really sure exactly how that's going to be executed or when, but it's there, it's in the background, it will be happening probably at some point in the future. But this was another good segment here. And now the moment of truth. Can Dan Severn put in a better performance than he did last time around? He can indeed. Great heat and decent wrestling. Dan Severn defeats Ekmo in 9:43 by submission with a beast choker. Severn makes his first defense of the Northwest title, and here, as compared to his performance in the last match that he had, is about 10 ratings point higher for him. Ekmo had a 29, but Dan Severn a 31. That's really important because Severn wasn't great in the last show. I think he did a 22 in-ring performance, but the fact that he's about 10 ratings points better here against Ekmo, who's not been, to be honest, one of the top performers in the company, is actually really good to see. And the segment rating of 34 is fine. I'm hoping that we may even get quite a lot higher than that when we get to the point of him up against other people. So a decent main event for a pretty damn good show, I think. An overall rating of 36, which increased our popularity in one region, as you might imagine. But the real news is the two big 40 rated matches, Punk Straw with Buddy Wayne in the six-man tag match, both really, really good. And we've moved along a number of stories as we continue to push along with what we're doing. I think on this occasion, we'll give Dan Severn a compliment, given the increased performance from him. I think, as always, we need to give Ekmo a compliment because he just keeps performing really, really well. And I think we will also give a little bit of credit to Sean Stasiak for another good performance. He's always been good, you know. Stasiak, I've really been pleased with the performances that he has provided in general over the course of this game. Some news: Charlie Haas booking complaint. Okay, fair enough. He's not particularly happy with how he's been booked. But that is the show. I don't think we'll have gone up another size point. We haven't, but I think that's pretty. That was pretty good. That was a successful thing. Let's just have a look where that is in the top 100s list. So you can see here, Number of the Beast was the ninth the best show we've done, a 36 rated match, and that's a significant improvement on the Luck of the Draw, which was the 18th best show we've done. And in terms of the top 100 matches, well, the CM Punk Buddy Wayne draw goes in at number 6. Meanwhile, the six-man tag match we just had goes in at number 8. So in terms of overall match quality, Number of the Beast was actually a good show. It was just the main event um, that let it down a little bit. And in terms of titles, obviously that was Dan Severn's first defense of the RWR title. So let's move on to the end of the current month. Into November of 1999, I will confess I've got no plans as yet for our next show, so I don't know what the main event's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised, however, if Dan Severn defends the belt again, and that will mean he will face Ekmo, of course, who's now the number one contender following Ekmo's loss and loss of all his points. But other than that, I have no idea what might be on the next show. So yeah, I've got a little bit of thinking to do before the next episode, before I bring you the next episode. But I'll be honest with you, you know, I've not struggled to find time to plan and put together the next show, and I'm trying to stick to that thing of only planning the next show. There's lots of sort of long term ideas that I've got. One example, obviously, being the Sean Stasiak heel turn, which I've had in mind since the game was in June or so. But we just haven't got to the point where we're ready to turn him yet. And I think it will be at least another couple of months, at least, until he turns heel, given the way I think we will likely end up doing it. So I can't really go into what's next for the company, but we can look at the game world, and in particular, Lex Luger agreeing a deal with the WWF. So Lex Luger's going back to the WWF. He's another defector from WCW. There's been lots and lots of them, and I'm starting to get concerned about WCW's lack of star power. Although losing Lex Luger, I don't think is a great loss in 1999 when Luger is 41 years of age and far, far past his best. But he is a big star, and once again, WCW have lost another big star. They incidentally had Halloween Havoc, where Hugh Morris defeated Chicky Star again and Ric Flair this time in a triple threat match to retain the World Heavyweight title. But a 78 rated match shows that once more, WCW just are not, they're just not where they should be at this point. As simple as that. Luger, who's leaving the company, defeated Hulk Hogan in the semi-main, and Savage defeated Arn Anderson, and all of them were sort of 78, 79 rated matches. They simply have made some bad decisions over the course of the game that we've seen play out as they've happened, because, you know, we've seen them lose Rey Mysterio Jr. and Billy Kidman, the two wrestlers who were performing best for them, and they continue to lose other stars as this game goes on. So, yeah. You know, WCW in real problem here. Let's have a quick look at New Japan. Misawa defeated Hashimoto to retain the IWGP World Heavyweight title in an 86 rated match. Fascinating that Misawa's working for New Japan in the 1990s still here. Chono and Cactus Jack defeated the Collaboration, which is Rick and Scott Steiner. Why they're not the Steiner brothers, I don't know, but that was a 75 rated match. Pan Am Express, which is Doug Furness and Phil LaFon, so another team. I think they were mainly working in All Japan themselves defeated the replacements, who are Saito and Takayama, in that one. Sabu defeated Eddie Guerrero. So it's not a bad roster that New Japan have got, and an 86 rated main event will do them no harm at all. So they're okay at the moment. And WCW still remain as number 2, but I can only imagine that they are starting to fall off in terms of their size. Let's just have a look at this. Yeah, they are. They are. Look at that. Right across the board. The Great Lakes has gone down to 75 from 80 1 year ago. So they are dropping in popularity. How are WWF doing in that same vein? Um, so 90s across the board. I mean, understandably, given some of the matches, and you can see they started the year at 93, but in some places they're up to 95 here. Mid South, Tri-State up to 95. So they're going in different directions at the moment, as happened in real life. Although obviously this is it's been happening in a lot of a different way than happened in reality. That's all we've got time for today. We've actually run a little bit over now, thanks to all that stuff. Next time, obviously, we'll be in November '99 with another show. But for now, thank you for watching.